here we have a Zenith, a very dirty Zenith, model R509R. Now this is very similar to my Zenith X509R, which is annoyingly missing this very large and very special knob. It is also very similar, in fact identical, to my other Zenith model R509R. Now, this particular radio the story with this one is I have no idea. So let's go ahead and oh boy, I love when I get to do this. This is a radio I just got. I don't know the history of it. It's very dirty, so it's obviously been sitting and stored in a bad environment for a while. So obviously, you know, it's got wax paper capacitors in it. So the last thing you want to do with a vintage radio, and you're going to hear this from everyone because everybody knows better, is just plug it in. You always want to bring it up slowly on a variac because you know, you can cause damage to sensitive components. We have vacuum bulb illumination. We got vacuum bulb illumination, although it seems kind of dim. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so this is extremely surprising, but we have a bad filter capacitor. There's the volume all the way down, but if you hear, we're going to turn up the volume. I am hearing something. Should we just let it run like this? Just to make the vintage radios really cringe? Just keep killing that rectifier tube? We'll go ahead and shut it down. So we got a bad filter capacitor, but it sounds like it's working otherwise. So let's go ahead and pull the chassis out of this one. Volume knob doesn't want to come off. There it goes. Alright. Dump some of that vintage dust out of there. How long has the camera been turned sideways? Here's the chassis out of it. I suppose I need to tighten the camera up some. Here's the cabinet. Our wonderful asbestos pad is sort of coming a bit loose here. We're gonna have to we'll probably ignore that, actually. I was gonna say we'd have to glue it, but let's be realistic here. Let me lower the camera down. Since everyone loves to complain about me not using a tripod, I always try to make it as terrible as possible when I do use a tripod, so people keep bugging me about it. So let's, alright, there we go. Gonna level that out some. There we go, look at that. Here's the chassis. What do we say? How many hours are on this thing? Well, it's gross. Got some corrosion on the tuning capacitor here. That is a Motorola tube. That's a Zenith tube, R12BA6. 35W4 is a weird looking Admiral tube. Let's see, what is R50C5? That is an RCA tube. And what is... That's a Motorola tube. So only 2 of our tubes are Zenith tubes. So this thing's likely got some hours on it. We got some corrosion on the chassis here. Let's see. Has any major work been done? Doesn't look like it. We've got mostly original looking components. Zenith branded caps. So is this one branded Zenith? This one is not. Oh yeah, it is. Now this one, this paper capacitor here, looks like it's starting to kind of push its end out. The rest of these look okay. Well, is that one pushing its end out too? Anyway, this is our filter capacitor, also branded Zenith. And this is, let's see, red is 60 microfarad and green is 20 microfarad. So let me go see if I can find something that will work in this. Well, I was going through my, of course my desk is locked. I was going through my, my stuff, my box of random shit in my workshop, because I've been doing work in there, and I found in that box of stuff this is a Cornell Doobly Boobly Oublié. This is a 50 microfarad at 150 volt and a 30 microfarad. So we're a little bit off of the 60 and 20, but I suppose it should work, at least for testing purposes. I do not know if this is a functional capacitor or not, but I don't know why I would have kept if it's not. I'm certainly not going to go through the trouble of installing it, but that is without testing it. But we can go ahead and run some clip leads here and see what she does. There's our 30, or no, that's our 60. Now we do have a bit of an issue here. It says our black is, of course, one and red is the other. Although I can't really see which it is. Oh, red is black and blue is... Yes, red is black. 50 is red, 30 is blue. Problem is the wires are cut off of it. Suppose we're going to have to make a guess, and we're going to call this one red for now. And maybe it'll prove otherwise, and we'll try it the other way around. We're going to call that one blue for now. We're going to go ahead and, let's see, trace that wire back and clip her in there. I'm not even going to bother removing the old one. It's not shorted, it's open. Well, probably not open, but at least gone way up in value. So let's just haphazardly lay that there and see what she do. Oh, that fell off. Let's keep that up there just in case it explodes. That way we can get it on camera. And get something on this knob so that we can turn it without having to grab onto a hot chassis set. Yeah, it's on the desk, which is nice. Metal table, I'm sure that's fine. Well, nothing exploded, so I guess that is fine. Either that or I got lucky and plugged it in the correct way. Have the volume a little bit up. Well, we're getting quite a bit of humming still. So let's try reversing these two wires. Maybe I got them hooked on the wrong way. Of course, this capacitor is ancient as well, so there's also a possibility that this capacitor is just bad. But it should be close enough that we shouldn't have that much humming in the audio, that's for sure. Well, we still got quite a bit of hum. So, I suppose this capacitor is just bad. So that's nice. Alright, let me go find some modern capacitors to try in there. Okay, so we got some capacitors here. We have 68 microfarad for our 60, 33 microfarad for our 30, of course at 200 volts, which is perfectly fine for a 150 volt replacement. And I suppose we'll go ahead and clip lead these in, just because we're already... I went through the trouble of getting the clip leads out, plus I rarely actually use them. So, let me go ahead and justify my purchase of the clip leads here, and clip lead this in. So let's see, this is the green one, so green is our 20, so put in our 33. Did I say 30? I'm at 33. Or did I say 30? I'm at 20. Yeah, that. It's the lowest value I had. That wasn't a 10. Red will go on our 68. Like that. And of course the minuses. And by minuses. Minuses. Let's put the minuses together. If I can get both minuses, both minusi, Masini. Let's put both minuses under there, and then to there. And we'll go ahead and turn radio on, radio to play to see if radio plays. Make sure nothing's touching there that shouldn't be. It's not. Okay. And nothing's on fire. Nothing's shooting 6-foot flames. Nothing's smoking. Nothing's burning. And there has not been an explosion. Yeah, so I'd say we're good. Let's see if it... Oh, we're still getting a horrible hum. What the hell? We just... not... I mean, it's a lot less. I wonder if the other one's gone leaky, because that could be a problem. Let me try cutting it out of circuit here. It is unplugged, right? Yes. Let me just try cutting it out of circuit. No? What the hell? And 20. A 68 and a 37 should be more than close enough. I mean, it's helping some. I wonder if we possibly have a bad rectifier. Seems very unlikely, but there is a possibility that could cause that. Here. Do I have another one right here in this bag? I believe I do. Let's see. 50C5. You know, a bad audio output tube can cause that too, because I experienced it the other day. It's a 35 W4, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll try switching the rectifier first. I accidentally removed the wrong tube. I don't know where I just put it. So I suppose I need to find that. Here it is. Oh, that's the rectifier. Where the hell did the other one go? 12BA6. Oh, there it is. Alright. Generally the rectifier will just quit working, but I have seen a bad selenium rectifier cause hum. So, in theory, a bad rectifier tube, I guess, could do the same thing, right? No, I'm just getting nothing. Oh, no, there it goes. Alright, we still got... Yep. Okay. Now, for the hell of it, let's try switching that audio output, because I saw that the other day. It was a... Again, I want to say it was a 50L6. And it just all of a sudden started humming. And it was the frickin' 50L6 had failed. Switching that tube out fixed it. I don't think that's going to do that. Nope. What the hell? I don't think any of those other paper caps could cause that. Well, let's go ahead and solder in the new filter capacitors, I guess, because either way they're going to have to be put in there. So I suppose we'll go ahead and do that. I did read those values correctly, right? Oh, come on. I don't think, yeah, 68 microfarad. That's 33. I want to make sure it wasn't like putting a 330 or something. I would think a 33 microfarad in place of a 20 should be fine. I mean, it's not perfectly ideal, but it shouldn't be humming like that. And in fact, if anything, going up would make the filtering better, would it not? So, oh, God damn it. So, yeah, let's go ahead and change those. Where is this wire going to? It's going to the negative on the volume pot, or I should say the... Does this thing have a switched neutral? Anyway, if we could fish that through here. Actually, well, the question is, here's the two options. We either solder these directly to like the tube sockets into ground, or we put them together under a piece of tape or shrink or whatever, solder them to these wires, put them in this mount. I think we will go with that option. So let's just try to strip these, which might be easier said than done. There we go. Try to kind of not mess it up, because you know, I should probably unplug this. There we go. The power strip was turned off, but it should still be unplugged in reality. Yeah, I'm just going to reuse these wires. They seem fine enough. The insulation's not coming off of them or anything. If you do need wire for stuff like this, I found that old computer power supplies are a pretty good source. Need some heat shrink tubing here to put over the leads when we're done. Put them over the wire here, like this. I'm sure I'm going to get comments about how sloppy of a job I'm doing. We're not going for a restoration here. We're going for making radio do radio things again. Can't say I've ever replaced a filter capacitor and then had the thing still hum like a... What hums? Anyway, hummingbird? I don't know. Humming like something that hums. You let me know. Anyway, point is, radio is humming. I would like radio to not be humming. Alrighty, let's put our minuses together here. Try to get it on camera. I need some sort of plier, but I don't really have one. I mean, I'm sure I do, but yeah. Alright. I need to get me one of them. I need to get me one of them. What do you call those things? The thing with the two alligator clips that like holds things while you're soldering on them. One of them. Because of shit like this. Why is this wire not holding the solder? Please do what you're supposed to do, sir. There you go. That's not a very good secure mechanical connection you're making there before you solder your wires. You could really be doing a lot better than that. Actually, I am very, very offended by how poorly you made that solder joint. We'll use the heat gun in a minute. Alright, green was... Where's the old capacitor? Green was our 20 microfarad. Of course I've got it flipped the wrong way. Classic. I'm actually gonna... No, I'm not. let's go ahead and shrink those down. We'll go ahead and plug our 1500 watt, what do you call this thing? Heat gun. Oh, I'm dropping tubes on the floor. Go ahead and plug our 15 million thousand watt heat gun to power strip plugged into another power strip. Yes, that's what we do around here. Ah, yes, lights go big dim. Pretty cool stuff. Alright. I'm going to take... Oh, do I even need to? I was going to put a larger piece of heat shrink tubing around both of these. I think we'll still go ahead and do that. So is this... No, it ain't big enough. Probably don't have a piece big enough, do I? Unless this is big enough. No. Well, I'm gonna do the right thing and just kind of shove this in there like that. And then maybe even, you know, we're feeling a little bit... desk drawer's closed, I couldn't be bothered. Alright, we're just gonna leave that like that. Maybe what we'll do, we'll kind of bend this shut. Ah, here we go. Just kind of bend that shut. And clip those in there. I don't suspect wiring them in properly without the clip leads would have made a change. But those were Harbor Freight clip leads, so I suppose they could have been doing something bad. Let's just see what it does now. Well? Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Okay, is that just a bad tube connection? Sounded like... No. Oh, jeez. Set. Alright, let's cut the light off. Let's see here. Oh god, this thing might be going directly in the garbage. I'm not seeing arcing in there. Oh boy. Is there any way in hell that's just a bad... It's a Zenith, man. It's a Zenith. Okay. No. Yeah. Fuck. What the hell, man? Well, maybe? Unfortunately, I think it is. These tubes are so dirty. I don't really have any deoxit or anything to spray these with. So I'm just going to try to... I just chipped this one. Oh, I just broke it. Alright, well we went ahead and broke this one, so let's put that back in there. Let me find another one. Damn. Yes. Alright, where the hell are my tubes that I just had? I broculated this one. What was this one? So covered in mouse rodent feces and who knows what else. Can't even read it. Let's see, where's the cabinet for this stupid radio? The hell, where's the cabinet, man? It's got the tube chart on it, so I need it. I'm not just, you know, looking for it for the hell of it. Okay, here it is. That's a 12AT6. Good to know. Alright. Here's a new 12AT6. And by new, I mean, I don't know how old, and I don't know if it's any good, but probably. So we'll try it. It'd be really nice if it was just these tube sockets doing that. Although I'm seeing more and more SMD these days. Sometimes you can see them kind of arcing through the bottom. Because these aren't really clear. I don't think any of these wax capacitors would do that, would they? Yeah. These are these stupid ones. Are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are these stupid ones with 6 leads on them, too. What the hell? It was working before. Now it's not. quit recording, but I got nothing on anything but this channel. If we turn it way up, yeah, I think we've got silver mica disease here. These aren't the IF cans that normally get SMD, but I suppose they can because they're the kind with the single slug in the middle. So, I don't think any of these can cause that. None of these are getting like warm or anything. So I don't think they're leaky enough to cause that. Yeah. And yeah, these are the stupid IF cans that they have like 7 or 8 lugs on them, not just 4. Okay, well, we've just severely wasted our time. Okay, well, this one can go into the garbage directly. We keep the Bakelite cabinet for the asbestos pad. No, we don't need it. Okay, well, there you go. Before we start with today's video, I just wanted to say that the reason you are, or are going to, or have, depending on the sequence in which I upload these videos, the reason you are seeing so many videos on radios recently is because I have been pulling a bunch of crap out of my my shop out there. And that included pretty much all of my non-functioning radios that I put aside for rainy day projects, and I'm trying to get all those sorted out and functioning. So that is why there are so many of these. I may try to split these videos up with other content in between. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that. So you may see them, you know, all at once in a row, or you might see them split up over the near future. Anyway, here we have a Zenith model X509V. Now, if this radio looks familiar, it is very similar, in fact almost identical, and uses the same chassis as far as I know, as my Zenith R509R, my Zenith R509R, my Zenith R509R, and my Zenith X509R, which is at work. Now, the canine among you will notice there's nothing in this one, and that is because this one has silver mica disease. This one has silver mica disease, but it still plays for the most part. This one, I do not believe has silver mica disease, so that's nice. But, yeah, We're seeing a bunch of silver mica disease in these. So the one that the chassis is not in currently, that is why. And maybe in the near future, we will be doing a video on silver mica disease, because I now have that one and this other one. Both of these, two of these here have silver mica disease. One of them is not even, in fact it was the previous video that I made here. You can see we replaced the filter capacitor in it because it was bad, and then we figured out that the radio has silver mica disease. And also my X509R, which I've had since I was in kindergarten, is beginning to develop it. And my Zenith Owli, which I just got, is also beginning to develop it. So we are going to need to do some practicing on silver mica disease soon. Anyway, this one being an X variant, I'm not exactly sure how these models work. Obviously this one's red. That must be the V, because the R is, you know, brown, just like these R509Rs. R509R. And what I've noticed is that the ones that start with an R, have the Zenith crown logo just kind of molded into there. And that and this are gold, but there's no gold on the waffle iron, whatever you want to call that. The X models have an actual little emblem there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's an actual little emblem there, and the whole front of it is gold. The X models, and you can ignore this, I don't know what's going on here, we'll have to figure that out, but that's not original. The X models also have this hole in the back here, where it says speaker, phones, both, but there's nothing in here. My X509R is the same way. Both of the R509Rs just have a solid back, although they are the exact same chassis. As I mentioned, this one is red. You could get these in several different colors. There was one that was like a seafoam type green color, and there was this red one. I believe there may have been a pink one as well, but I'm not entirely sure. The case is Bakelite, and if you look, it is just the standard black Bakelite, and they paint it at the factory. This particular one has a handle on it, which I haven't quite seen. This handle, big handle, says Zenith, because this is such a, you know, a heavy and large radio. This handle really makes a big difference on something like this. So yeah, this one's a bit neat. I haven't quite seen one like this. It's an interesting variant. Now, like I said, we'll have to figure out about that. Now, I don't know what this radio is going to do. I haven't tried it. And now, as far as vintage radios go, all you know, you don't want to just plug them in, especially when you've got some weird modification. There's a wire coming off of this. So, especially when somebody has done something weird to said vintage radio, the last thing you want to do is just go ahead and plug it in, because you could cause major damage. Vacuum bulb illumination here. How much you want to bet it's going to start humming? Every single one of these does. Oh, maybe not. Nope, there it is. There it is, I win. Now I want my $100 right now. I'm not continuing this video until you send me my $100. I will say that the humming on this one is nowhere near as bad as they normally are. These capacitors and these things are shitty. They're almost always bad. The ones in the cardboard tube where it's just the cardboard tube are shitty. Now this kind, like this, where it's a metal can inside the cardboard tube, those are normally fine. Unfortunately, this one the wires came off of, so I can't use it. But yeah, the one like what's in here, and I'm saying what's in here because I already know what's in here, because I have 5 of these radios with this exact same chassis, so I know what the hell's going on with these. They are shitty. Now for the moment of truth. Let's see if we get anything through the static.
Latino, you only speak Spanish if you speak Spanish with an...
Okay. I'll turn that off before we kill the rectifier. So it sounds like it's working, but that one yesterday did as well. And then we figured it out... Lord. Figured out it had silver mica disease. So, make sure that's in shot. Indeed it is. Another thing I'm noticing is this is hard to turn, so we've got... need some cleaning on the knob, or I should say on the tuner, most likely. Yeah. That one's a little stiff too. In case you weren't aware, this is supposed to be captive, but for some reason they're always missing the thing that holds them in place. Yeah, someone's definitely been playing around in this thing. It's got the wrong screw in it. And the chassis is not in here all the way. In fact, that's the problem. I bet you. It looks like the knob is actually hitting here, and that's why it's stiff. The chassis is not in all the way. Now for these, you're supposed to remove the back to service the tubes or whatever. I find it just as easy to pull this singular screw that holds the chassis in place and just slide everything out. That way you're not flexing the wires on the back for the antenna, and it also has easier access. So this one doesn't have the asbestos pad up in the top here. Now this handle's got to be original. It says Zenith on it, and I've seen other ones, pictures of other ones with this same handle. But yeah, there's no asbestos pad up in the top here. Like you can see in the top of that one, there's supposed to be an asbestos pad here. But I'm not seeing any glue, so I don't think it was removed. It maybe just didn't have one. And of course on Bakelite it doesn't really matter. It's not like plastic where it's going to start melting and deform. The other thing I'm noticing, and I'll show you on the chassis the corresponding thing, there's something going on here. There's a piece of fabric here, and this would have never had a piece of fabric here. These don't have that. Anyway, this has the wrong speaker. These wires are soldered on here. They're just supposed to be plugged in, and this speaker is way too big. And let's see here. How is this being done? Yeah, this is pretty shoddy repair work here, whoever installed this speaker. If you can see, they've bent this chassis all up, and you can see here where the original speaker would mount there and there, and they've just used some self-tapping screws and put it here. But the problem is it sits out too far, and it doesn't allow, this is why the chassis is not sliding into the cabinet all the way. And that is also the problem with the tuner, because that turns perfectly fine. As far as this bolt going through here, this is really just a bolt. It's got a wire going to the antenna. It's not soldered on, it's just kind of hanging around there. I guess that's for an external antenna somehow, but that wouldn't really work. Let's see, have we got a bunch of hours on this thing? Well, we got a Westinghouse tube here, a Westinghouse tube here. Our 12BA6 is a silver tone. This is a Zenith tube. It's our 12AT6. And our 50C5, it's a Lindahl. Alrighty. Underneath here looks pretty typical. I don't see any hackery done here. It looks mostly original. Zenith capacitor there. This one is starting to blow its end out. Filter capacitor here. This is the part that is bad and causing the humming. That really bit into there, didn't it? It is a 60 and a 20, just like the others. So I suppose first things first, we're going to replace that. Now on these particular radios, what I've done, at least, well, what I'm going to do, I've gutted the other capacitor out of the other one. And I'm going to be taking my modern capacitors and mounting them inside of there. Now I am normally one for not restuffing capacitors. I just think it's a lot of work to go through to essentially make it look like you didn't restore something. If I've restored something, I would rather be able to look under there and say, hey, all this has been replaced, it's not a problem. On top of that, you know, for a cheap little All-American 5 radio like this, that's worth maybe 20 bucks in good condition, well, this one's red. This one's probably worth more than that. This one's probably got some money for the cool retro, you know, vibe or what the hell ever. But cheap little All-American 5 radio like this is worth maybe 20 bucks in good shape. You know, I'm not going to go through the trouble of heating up the capacitors, removing them, restuffing them, and all that. In this case, the reason I'm doing it is practicality. You see, this is the mount for the capacitor. It just holds in there. So the capacitor, you know, goes right in there. Like so. You know, like the old one was, and it firmly holds in there. It's just got these wires run to it. Now I could get a terminal strip and put the new capacitors on that. However, I don't have any terminal strips. I know it's something I need to get, but I really don't know where the hell you get them. I look on eBay, and they're expensive as hell. I can go on Mauser or whatever, I suppose, if they sell them. But in this case, we're just going to take the old can, put the new capacitors inside of there, and if you're ever working on radios or anything that you need wires from, get some old computer power supplies. This cap says it's a 60 20 microfarad, and the 60 is on a red wire, the 20 is on a green, and the other common is on a blue. Well, here you go. Old PC power supply we got is on black. That's the common, green, and we've got red right there. So yeah, if you want to save some money, buy some old PC power supplies. I've got them all over here. And of course I go to pick one up, it's tangled in. Yeah, grab yourself some old PC power supplies. They've got plenty of nice heavy gauge, at least for stuff like this, wire that you can use. Now I believe what I'm going to do is take a piece of cardboard, cut it in a circle about this size, poke the leads through it, solder the leads onto the wires, the new wire that I just showed you, and then from there, of course, some heat shrink to insulate them, and I'm going to slide that in here far enough so that, you know, the wires, the solder joints are inside of this tube. And then I'm going to take some black hot glue and just kind of, fill that area. That's the point of the cardboard, is to stop the hot glue, because I don't want to fill this whole thing. I just want to make like a plug at the end. So I believe that's how we're going to do that. But for now, I just want to make radio working. So we will do that later. For now, I'm just going to solder these capacitors in there loosely on the wire of the old capacitor here. So let's go ahead and do that. This one will need to be replaced, and since we're already in here, we'll just replace all three of these. There's no point in just replacing one. This capacitor is severely dented. We'll try to unstuff. We'll try to gut this one later, but basically you just got to heat it up and pull this wax plug out. But yeah, you can see this is the kind that's always bad. Just the wax, and it's got a wax paper roll inside of there. So those are almost always bad. Oops. These things are too sharp. A lot of wax on these wires. That filter cap must have gotten warm or something, I don't know. So normally we don't have all this wax running down, at least on the other three of these radios that I did. Alrighty, let's see. We got a 68 and a 33, which is not exactly the value we wanted, but they are the closest I've got. Now, of course, we're going to take, and I don't know why I'm showing you this closely, this is not a tutorial, the two negatives and tie them together. They go to the black wire, and then you go with the corresponding, get on there. Is it still in view? Yeah, you go with the corresponding one, so then the positive of the other side goes to whichever wire corresponds to that value. Pretty simple. Once again, this is not a tutorial. Wow, that was horrible. Wow, that's a bad solder joint. That is, don't look at that. Alright. I'm not gonna bother heat shrinking this, since this is pretty much, I didn't strip enough wire, since this is for testing purposes only. And we're going to come back through and do the method that I described with the original capacitor. Once I confirm this one doesn't have silver mica disease or some shit like that other one did. Alright, this is our 68. So that's going to be the red one. And that's going to be the green one. I think I need to turn my soldering iron up some. That one did okay. Alright. Let's see how that sounds. Where is my tuning knob? Hello, Mr. Tuning Knob, where are you? Oh yeah, that's right, it's still in the... Alright, well I'll just pull one off the other radio since it's not captive anymore. And we'll put that on there. I bet this probably sounds better with this giant speaker. Of course, unless it doesn't match the output transformer. But we're going to have to do some hackery with that. I'm thinking maybe small cutoff wheel and just cut part of the chassis out. I know it's hackery, but I don't have the original little small speaker that this used. I'd also like to mention, I'm a professional bad example. This is a hot chassis radio, meaning one side of the power cord is connected to this chassis. So right now if I were touching ground, there's a 50% chance I would get shocked, but we're working on a metal table as well. Don't do any of this. And also, I joke around about just plugging these things in, but you really shouldn't do that. All right, we're not humming.
Experts say seating an impartial jury for former FBI Director James Comey's upcoming trial.
This thing is rad.
Comey was charged with lying to Congress 5 years ago. On social media, President Trump called Comey corrupt and a bad person. The president of the jury consulted. Some sort of motion.
This one's got silver mica disease too. At least that's what that sounded like. This is just a weak, loose tube. But it's still usable. It's not as bad as the other one. I tell you, I'm getting about sick of these radios with silver mica disease. Alright, telephone's ringing. I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. I had a phone call, and it's probably been about half an hour, maybe a little more. Radio has been on this whole time because I forgot about it. So, let's see. This is on just a blank station. I'm trying to listen for crackling. Yeah, there is a bit. That capacitor is quite warm, a bit melty, so that one's definitely got to go. I'm not really hearing any up. Oh, no, wait. Might be the volume control.
What I am now, there has to be accountability. And Comey did more damage to the FBI than any criminal that could ever think about doing throughout his or her career.
That's true, and what you're referring to, the fact is, Andy McCabe said, yeah, I did leak to the press. And they said that James Comey yes. And then they said, well, and Comey came back and said, I didn't leak to the press, and I don't really know what Andy McCarthy's...
only doing that when I'm touching it.
What Andy's talking about. So I want to bring this exchange from.
It's only when I'm turning the tuning thing. Yeah, that one's warm. It's like some sort of microphonic type something going on. In fact, it is. It's microphonic.
my way. It'll take time, I know it, but in a while you're gonna be mine, and I know it. We're doing it in style.
I don't think it's the IF cans though.
I made my mind up, you're going to be mine. I'll tell you right now, and it's drinking a book and I pay fair. All that I can find.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's that capacitor. I don't know. I suppose let's just change these capacitors out. This one's getting warm, and the end of it's kind of puffing out. Okay, let's make sure you can still see. Alright. Yeah, we'll change these, and then... Wow, that's annoying. Yeah, that one's quite warm and melty. That's a .02 at 400. So we got an 022. I know I'm asking for trouble by recording this. Oh, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, I know. Word of advice, don't film yourself doing repairs, especially stuff like soldering, putting on heat shrink, or not heat shrink, thermal paste, stuff like that. If you're recording it and putting it on the internet, you are doing it wrong. Now I am going to be using the hook and loop method. I am not going to be soldering these directly to the or directly to the thing. Talking and doing stuff at the same time is difficult. We're hook and looping it. That's what I'm trying to say. I find that A, it's easier. So it is kind of the lazy method, but also, make sure that, is it still, you really can't see a damn thing. Oh great, soldering iron's not on. It is an easier, lazier method, however, I also find that it just disturbs less, and you're less likely to break something, especially on, where the hell is my solder, especially on something like an early circuit board. Those things love to fall apart. So if you can avoid soldering to those, do. Something like this that's hand wired, they're pretty robust, but I still like to hook and loop it unless it's like the only thing, like on a volume pod or something like that. Then you can't really avoid it, but cut this one out. This one really looks fine, but of course looks can be deceiving. But it probably is fine in all actuality. This one's a .05. Zenith branded capacitors. Get a look at that. Or don't, I guess. That's an 05. Might be removing these IF cans sooner than later anyway, but hopefully not. Definitely start with the worse ones. This one still plays okay, so we'll definitely start with the silver mica disease repair on the ones that are very obviously not able to function, and then move on to the ones that are. These IF cans have, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different leads on them, which is annoying for, you know, trying to do silver mica disease compared to the ones that only have 2. These pliers are way too big, I realize that. I like to always try to put these things with the value facing up, but sometimes that is simply not really possible. Or I should say it will cause more problems than good. In this case it's going to hit that, and we're going to be putting our new filter capacitor in there. So in this case we're just going to have to put it with the value facing down, and someone in the future is just going to have to get over it and quit being a little bitch. Thing there's only 3 wax caps in here. Some of these things are crazy. Some of these things are full of these. This one, also a .05. These are what the new ones look like compared to those. This one, I think I might just solder to the tube socket here instead of trying to hook and loop that because it's so short. Which means that's part of. Okay, so that is that. It loops around here and goes through there. That's all part of that lead. So we're just gonna... I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera, and that's making it difficult as well. We're just gonna put that through there like that. And then grab this and loop it around without grabbing that other wire that is right there. There we go, look at that. Grab that. And we're going to do the same thing here. And yes, I realize that solder joint is not even close to being okay. I will fix it in a second. If I could get this to go through there, that would be really, really helpful. Like, in fact, I'm not even going to use the word helpful. It's necessary at this point. So, you know, we really don't have an option. You need to cooperate. And if you don't, well, there we go. Look at that. That's through there. That is sloppy as hell, but whatever. Mechanically secure, that's what we're going for. So let me just now actually fix that. I need to turn this soldering iron up. It's too cold. Look at how that's flowing now. I'll tell you, this soldering iron is excellent. I mean, it heated up that quickly. This is a, oh yeah, just fall apart. A Hakko or Hakko or whatever you want to call it. It's a 926. I got this at a Habitat for Humanity for $10. And you know, I've always been too cheap to buy something like this. I've always just used those cheap plug-in irons. And now I could never go back to using one of those. This is just so nice, and the different tips are nice. I find myself using this more fatter chisel tip, whereas most of those standard plug-in irons only come with, you know, the conical pointed cone tip, which really doesn't transfer enough heat for something like that. I believe those are normally like 25, 30 watt irons. This is a 60 watt iron, I believe. And yeah, look at how beautifully it flowed that. You probably can't see, but if you know what you're doing, unlike me, you can make some really nice solder joints. And if you don't know what you're doing, like me, it makes it a lot easier to mask the fact that you're terrible at what you do. So, I doubt that's going to make any difference, but maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Either way, the radio should be about as happy as it's going to get, because I ain't doing silver mica disease today. Let me find that tuning knob, wherever it may have gone. It has gone onto the floor. Yeah, I can still hear it popping. So yeah, we've got silver mica disease here too.
Protection. This invisible threat is house stealing. Con artists pick a house. They transfer the deed of this house into their name by obtaining the forms, using the fake IDs, and filing the paperwork with proper authorities. Now they own the home. Protect your home from this invisible gap. Check on your home's title right now at HomeTitleLock.com. Be sure to use promo code RADIO, and they will send you a complete title scan of your home title. And your first 30 days of triple lock title protection is free. HomeTitleLock.com. Are you having trouble hearing?
Ooh, yeah, look at that.
Can devastate the quality of your life. Now there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing.
Actually, that might just be because I'm touching it with the
Forbes
spoon.
Health, Audion Hearing has the
Something
highest quality hearing
plastic
aids at
to
the lowest
tap
prices,
with.
starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed. Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. If your contractor shows up late and leaves early, maybe don't call him.
I don't know.
Hi, I'm Richard Miller. Seinfeld coming to the organization. Want to attend for more information, call your graphics school at 3228. Again, that's 513-618-3228.
So the Bombers with the ball 1st and 10 on their own 13-yard line.
Can't really breathe in San Jose. They've got a lot of space. There'll be a place where I can stay. I was born and raised in San Jose. I'm going back to find some peace of mind in San Jose.
MSR, that's right, luxury power and legendary Jeep capability for up to $11,000 less. See dealer for details. John Heister has the largest inventory and the best selection in the area to choose from. So get off your keister and head to John Heister, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Lillington. Keeping you informed about your world. This is CBS News on the Hour. Your state.
MCN News. I'm Mike Riley. A federal law enforcement source says your community.
I'm MarryAnn. Durham and Wake County Fire Department's office.
Keeping the Triangle informed for more than 100 years. Count on
FM 92.9 and AM 680. WBEF.
Information you want, truth you demand. This is the Brian Kilmeade Show.
Now that has been indicted, who is the next person on your list of retribution?
Not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt.
Get that guy off of my radio before it explodes. Alright. Let's do something about this speaker. Let me cut this, and we're going to remove that wire. Alright, so first of all, I'm just going to remove this speaker. I'm going to go see if I can find another one, even if it's the same size. We're going to have to modify the chassis. Let me make sure that capacitor isn't shorting. Let me just stick it in here for now. Actually, because I'd like to be able to run this while it's sitting there, but I don't feel like restuffing that capacitor right now, and by I don't feel like that, I mean I need to get the hot glue and all of that. Of course, the camera battery died right then. I don't know how much of it recorded. We're going to remove this speaker, remove this wire that somebody's added, and we're going to see if we can fix this. The issue here, if you look, see this gap here? This part of the speaker is hitting the chassis here, so it can't really sit flat. So there's a gap, and this is pressing against the front of the cabinet. So I think if we just use a cutting wheel, like cut part of the chassis out, like to, you know, enlarge this, it should be okay. So just don't want that to touch anything. So there's that. This wire here is barely soldered in place. Somebody soldered on these speaker terminals just to be annoying. So we have to desolder those. I don't know what this speaker is out of. It looks newer. And this is a bit different from my other R509R. This has actual wires here. My other one has just like insulated leads, if that makes sense. The magnet wire coming right out of the transformer. So let's go ahead and pull this off. This is just a screw with two nuts on it. Somebody drilled a hole in the back, and they decided that they needed this connection for an external antenna for whatever reason. So they just, for some reason, did that, and they did a shitty job at it, because I don't think that this would work, and if it does, this is dangerous because this is a hot chassis radio anyway. So yeah, there goes that. And let's pull this speaker off. I suppose I don't need to insulate this now, or not scratch up the very best of Mungo Jerry. And there's like a spacer in between here, because they couldn't get it to sit flat, presumably. And you know, like I said, the speaker is too large. So set that aside. Pull these guys off. And I'm thinking if we just, you can see here, somebody's bent this all to hell. This is where the original speaker would have mounted, and here's where this one mounts. I think if we just cut basically how it's cut now, but like that, we should be good. So let me get my grindy wheel thingy. for this Dremel. Or I should say I need to find my cutting wheels. I believe are in the drawer underneath this. So that's excellent. No, of course they're not in there. Of course not. Where the hell are they? Not in there. Not in there. So that means they're somewhere they really shouldn't be. Probably on this table, if I had to guess. Is that them? Here they are. My cheap eBay, Amazon, whatever the hell fits here. We'll get us a cutoff wheel. It's really about all I ever use this Dremel with is a cutoff wheel. And I suppose calling this a Dremel is like calling all tissue, okay, we've got a mess here, is like calling all tissues Kleenex or all refrigerant Freon. Incorrect. This is a Black & Decker high-speed rotary tool is what this is. Anyway, about all I ever use this for is this cutoff wheel. But I'll tell you, this is one of those things I didn't buy, it was given to me. But I use the hell out of this thing for little stuff like this all the time. Alright, let's see here. You're going to be able to see what I'm doing. I'll try to keep it so you can. It's going to be hard to keep it where you can see. If I put it on its back like this, can you see? Yeah, you can see. Good enough at least. I might end up having to cut off more than that. And if I do, that's fine. But I'd rather cut off too little than too much. Bogging it down too much. I'm too impatient. Don't press on it, but you know. I'm sure all my vintage radio purists are absolutely having conniption fits right now. see how that does first. And if we have to take off more, we can, of course. It looks like we're going to need to take off more. In fact, the problem now is that it's hitting in here, so we're going to take off some of that, minding that this is attached here. Of course, that's just a ground point for that capacitor. We can always move it, but I'm just going to try to avoid cutting that off. And if I can get my needle nose pliers here, I'm just going to kind of bend it this way some. Make sure that's still recording so I can get all this gore on here. I'm a professional bad example, but also a professional anti-restorer, so I'm sure all of the radio people are having a fit here. Sure. Anything under that I'm going to hit? No. Damn it. We did chop a wire in two, so that's nice, but that's fine. We can fix that. It's a wire or whatever. You just have to keep that in mind. But hey, that looks like that's going to do it. It is mounting flush now. Just barely. But it is. Let's go ahead and put our screws back in here. We don't need the spacers anymore. We can mount this tightly up against here. Like that. And I suppose we'll just solder those back on there how they were. I'd rather not chop off these terminals, but also, you know, they're not just going to plug in there. So we will go ahead and just put it back how it was. It was working. suppose let's go ahead and fix that wire we chopped in two. And it's going from this tube socket here to there. And it looks like there's enough slack here to just kind of put it back together. Now there's not. Nice. Can't really hook and loop a wire. I mean, I suppose you could, but especially since this is solid wire, but we're not going to. We will go back and replace the whole thing. So there's that end of it. Let me get a piece of small solid wire. Well, this is stranded. Whatever. Damn it. There we go. Is that hole still open? Yes, it is. Damn it, would you stay? Stranded wire is annoying when it comes to stuff like this. There we go. Really? You're gonna spring back out of there? Alrighty, there we go, good as new. Well, I don't know about new, but it's as good as it was before. Let's go ahead and see if the thing still works. It should. We didn't really do anything, but you never know, sometimes things are ornery.
It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-8000. 8178. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare
be your
today
specialty,
by
but
visiting
you
us
really have a
online at
passion for it? Come on.
TRA.com or call 800-550-8178. That's 800-550-8178. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people. Are
You only repeated the number twice, not like 17 times. How could I possibly remember that?
We understand that money can be complicated. I'm Amanda Mangum, and my passion is to help you gain control and confidence over your finances.
Well, that's your
Whether you're
passion?
planning
Good Lord.
for retirement,
Okay.
saving for a big dream, or just
Better
need to
than
get your
taxes,
budget in
I
line,
guess.
we provide personalized guidance to help you reach your goals. Start your journey at AspireMoneyManagement.net. That's AspireMoneyManagement.net.
Ready to rule the road in a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee L? It's the
No,
Drive
I
into
am
Fall
not.
sales event at John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. And you can take...
Alright, let's just make sure this fits in the chassis. Then we'll go ahead and take a look at doing that capacitor, the filter capacitor. So let me remove these. And just desolder these. Because these are the ones we're going to use. But like mentioned, we're going to stuff them into the can from the old filter capacitor so I can mount them in there. Tis the plan, at least. So, let's just see with that new speaker, or, well, not new speaker, but the repair to the speaker, if this will mount all the way in there. For some reason, it appears the answer is still no. Oh, no, yeah, there it goes. See, there's no gap there now. It mounts all the way in there, and the knobs won't be hitting the back anymore. So that's good. That's what we want. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at that capacitor. Okay, so as mentioned, first thing we have to do, of course, is to gut this. I've already got one gutted, but I'm going to film the process of doing that anyway. We're going to take our new capacitors, slide them inside of there like so. They fit perfectly, like a mitten, and solder new wires onto that in the correct color: red, green, and black. And I'm going to make a cardboard cutout in a circle. At least I'm going to try to, about the same size, so that I can then push these through there, solder the wires on over that, shove this in here probably about that far, and then fill this bottom part with glue. So that will do two things. That will be our strain relief, and I guess that's about all that'll do. Anyway, we're going to go ahead, and I shouldn't have cut these wires this close, because that's really what you want to be able to grab onto, is the old wires. And we're just going to take a heat gun and heat this up. Not too much too fast though, because we don't want to burn the cardboard. And that will just soften up the wax that this is filled with and covered in. You can see the wax starting to run on here already. And once we're done, we will get a piece of napkin, what do you call that stuff, paper towel, and we will wipe off the wax so that it doesn't look all runny like this. Once again, you want to keep this moving. You don't want to burn the cardboard. I'm going to try pulling it, and I need to get the paper towel now because I'm getting wax all over my hands. See, if I had left the wires on, it would have made it a lot easier to pull that core out of there. But I snipped them too closely in reality here. So you might have to sort of jab something in there and try to pull it out, such as this screw maybe. I'll try screwing this screw into here. Just an idea. Might work. Might fail miserably. But you don't know until you try. But yeah, if you're doing this, I would recommend leaving the wires long enough to get a hold of them and pull them out that way. Wow, this is not screwing in there as easily as I thought it would. This is not a very good self-tapping screw here. I figured this would screw right into there since the inside is pretty much paper, but apparently, wow, I was very wrong. This is not screwing in there at all. Oh, now it's starting. Alright. Well, just continue doing this for a couple hours. Ah, there we go. Now it's biting. Alright. Now, where'd my pliers go? I'll pick it up by that screw. And preferably, I would like to, I'm going to have to fast forward through so much of this shit. I'd like to not damage my cutters there. So I will use the pliers to pick it up. See what I mean? If you're doing this for every single wax paper capacitor in a radio, especially ones that have a lot of them, I don't know, I think that's just a bit absurd. See if we can. Oh, nice. Oh, great. Just what I wanted. A mess. Yay. The other one slid right out a lot easier because those wires are attached way down in there. This is not doing that. This one is being a bitch. I don't believe these capacitors have PCBs in them, but I wouldn't recommend eating this wax either. I mean, I suppose you can if you want, but I wouldn't. You should be okay to eat regular wax paper capacitors. These electrolytics, I wouldn't eat them if I were you. This one's not coming undone as easy as that other one did. This one's kind of really just melting apart, and we've just, oh lovely, we just ripped the cardboard tube, so yeah, I think this one's gonna be a goner, unfortunately. Damn it. Well, this one's fucked. Okay. So let's just rip it apart. The idea is you want to get all of this out of here. And we did in the other one. This one is different and it did not cooperate. Okay, so luckily we have an extra tube here. And I found this, which is the correct size. It's actually a little bit too big, but we'll trim it down a tiny bit. This came out of the other capacitor. Just a piece of cardboard. Alright, that'll work. No, now it's gone down in there. Always something, ain't it? Get out of there. There we go. Come on, get out of there. There we go. Alright, so we're going to take our new capacitors and just kind of poke. To poke a couple holes in this for the leads, 3 to be exact. And we'll just poke the leads of the capacitors through these holes, like so. You see that? And then we need, what is it, red, green, and black wires, which I will get off of our handy dandy PC power supply thingy majiggy connector cord. There's a green. There's a black. And there's a red. And of course we will strip them. Like that. God, I got wax all over my nice new Klein side cutters. That's nice. Yeah, this one was a breeze. This is a different capacitor. It's got a thicker cardboard tube, but same value. The other one, or I should say this one, just slid right out. So I don't know why the other one is such a pain. Anyway, let's see, this is going to be the green wire right here. And I am going to trim these leads a little bit in a minute. But first I'm going to solder these on. So that's our green wire. That is our 33, or what was, and I'm going to need the soldering iron again, what was our 20. Where's the end? Come on, Mr. Soldering Iron, heat the hell up. Slightly closer, there we go. I'm really trying, guys, to keep this on camera, but I am bad at recording things while I'm doing them. There we go. Alright. We'll do our black. Wow, this black wire is really overly thick for this, but whatever, it will work. Jeez. I suppose I should mention, don't put leaded solder in your mouth. It's got lead in it, so don't. Finally, we're going to put our red wire. On our 68, which will be the replacement for what was originally a 60. Slide that. There we go. Alright, let's see. Does that look okay? Yeah, that looks fine. Now, we can actually put the soldering iron away. This is going to require so much editing. I hate editing videos. Okay. Cut these off. Try to keep the sharp edges to a minimum. And then heat shrink this. So that these are insulated, of course. I don't know if the heat shrink's going to fit over that. I have to get a bigger piece. Yeah. That's unfortunate, because all I got in larger size is blue. I don't want blue. I want black. Alright, well, let's just try to shove it over that then. Alright, it fit. Just required a bit of doing. This is some really shitty heat shrink tubing, by the way. Let me just demonstrate something here. Wait for it. Keep waiting for it. Continue waiting for it. Yeah, it's not even flame retardant. That's great. That's exactly what you want. but it's fine. Alright. Go ahead and heat shrink this down. Go into the new capacitor. It goes, or I should say the can, and you can see this plug. We'll slide this in here about that far, just so that this is where it's soldered, just so that is just inside of there. And then you can see, actually that's hitting the top, so that's as far as it can go, and that's about perfect. And you can see this plug in here that I added, this piece of cardboard will keep the glue. We'll fill this area with some black hot glue. We'll turn it so that the wires are aligned with the label here, like that. And there you go. That will be how it looks. So let me go get the hot glue gun and some black hot glue, and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I think that worked out pretty well. Here is the new capacitor. Of course, like I said, wires red for our 60, green for our 20, and black for common, like it originally was. We just put the new ones in this tube and then filled probably about that much of it with black hot glue. Actually, it was mostly just with regular hot glue, and then I put a layer of black on the end here, but yeah. Anyway, now we should be able to mount that in there without any issues. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to have to remove these wires. Looks like the green one's going to this tube socket, and the black one is going to the end of... Ow! It's going to the end of that potentiometer. Or I should say the power switch. It's attached to the volume potentiometer. It's still recording? Yeah. So, suppose, let's see, the green one goes over here, so we'll put that there. Label facing up, just like that. And let's first, I guess, do this black wire, since that is going to this section of the volume switch. Or, yes, the volume switch. You know what I mean, the power switch. Try to pull this out of here. That seems to be... There it goes. So that seems to be easier said than done. Alrighty. Just run the new one. I suppose under this, how it was before. Cutter right about there. Of course, leaving enough room to work with. We're not really that hard up for wire here. And this is going to be a pain in the ass. Getting it through this. This wire is too thick, really. So what I'm going to do instead is just wrap it around there. And yeah, that's... Preferably we have a smaller, solid core wire, but... Well, that's not what I had, so... It's not what we're using. Trying to stay out of the way of the camera, but as always, that is a lot easier said than done. Alrighty, nice and sloppy, just how we like it, but at least it's mechanically secure. Luckily our red and green wire is not as thick, so it should be easier. I should be able to put it through the terminal like I'm supposed to, or like it originally was, I should say. This thing, get you one of these. I mean, get you also, if you're going to be doing soldering, a bunch of this stuff, because you're going to go through it like there's no tomorrow. But, for a lot of stuff, this is just as good, if not even a bit better. Damn it. That one did pretty good. Now let's see if we can get this one to do pretty good. Not going for great, we're going for pretty good. I'll even go with it. I will even be pleased with acceptable. Damn it. What the hell? These things get plugged up. That is one issue with these. They make electric versions. You just have to press a button and it goes bzzz, and it pulls it out, but those are expensive and honestly just unnecessary. I mean, if you're going to do a ton of it, maybe it's worth it. Because they also got, normally, the iron built into them. They're called desoldering irons. And I can imagine it would make, if you're going to be doing a bunch of desoldering, it would probably make it quite a bit quicker. But yeah, I will say at least get yourself one of these guys. And if you don't have a good soldering iron like this Hakko, however the hell you're supposed to say that, get one. Because up until recently, like I said, I've been using just using cheap ones and throwing them out when they quit working. And yeah, you can use those, but they kind of suck. I would never go back to using one of those now, especially since this thing has already outlasted multiple ones. I had to get a new tip for this when I first got it. But this tip is very nice. The solder doesn't eat it up. And plus this temperature adjustment is nice. I can actually solder to the chassis of a metal radio with this if I just turn it way up. Couldn't do that before. Not enough thermal mass in those small, low wattage ones. Alright. Filter capacitor is installed. And there it is. Once again, I really just did that for practicality in this case, but I think it looks nice. I'm not much of a capacitor restuffer, as we've already gone over. I just don't think it's necessary or really even adds that much, but
Legal problems don't wait, and neither should you.
At the law firm of Whitaker and Hamer, we move quickly, guiding you through real estate issues, personal injury cases, and...
Alright, well, let's throw it back in the cabinet. Again, this is the wrong screw, but it was in there, so it works, so we'll put it. The chassis actually fits now into the cabinet like it's supposed to, so I can actually turn this knob without having a ton of resistance there. So that's real handy. Would help if the power strip were turned on, wouldn't it?
Someday when you own your time and have more freedom. Someday where you can pursue your passion and live your purpose. We also believe that planning for and living that someday should start today and be part of every day. Because
Fago
we shouldn't
Cola.
wait until tomorrow to
That's
start
what
living.
we're drinking
it's
today.
also about preparing for the other side of someday, the ones that we worry about and the ones that we wish.
It's about to be rich again. As I ask to stay, and every day
You can pick it up and carry it around like a lunchbox. with this really necessary handle. I still don't understand the handle. I mean, I guess it's cool. It says Zenith on it real big. But I just don't see, I don't think that's copyrighted, but we'll keep it moving.
Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
But yeah, like I said,
having problems getting hot water when you need it in your house?
Works, but I do believe it's getting or developing silver mica disease.
Chris, why is this happening? What happens
It's not popping now, but you heard it earlier.
The hot water line goes from fixture to fixture, and then it stops at the other end.
But at this point, it's not bad at all, so we're going to ignore it and call this radio fixed.
The water out of the water heater.
I suppose I can go ahead and demonstrate our last victim and what it sounds like. That this one has bad silver mica disease. Any day now.
And feeds America. This trust plays our community from construction to ag producers and fleet.
Oh, it's Pippa the Ripper. It's working fine now. What the hell, man?
I will not give my days to anyone. Here I come, American Idol. All eyes on me, no eyes on you. You think I'm silly? I'm here to save the world. I'm gonna fight till the end. Captain Ten, phone igniting stars. Little crazy, so what's in your brain? No matter what, the circus must go on. Wearing this crazy world together, you and me. I am the superstar, inside the spring so fly. I am the one that's desired day and night. I am the superstar, inside the spring so fly. I am the only one, yeah. Even if the darkness gets a hold of you.
Yesterday it wouldn't pick up even this barely. You'll see it in the previous video. It's got bad silver mica disease. Of course, that's assuming it's not like a bad tube socket or something. I don't think it is. There it goes.
Here I come, American Idol. All eyes on me, no eyes on you. You think I'm silly? I'm here to save the world. I'm gonna fight till the end. I am intense, from igniting stars. They will create just what's in your brain. No matter what, the circus must go on. Wearing this crazy
It's not really crackling, but it was yesterday. Hear the... There it goes. Yeah, that's what silver mica disease sounds like. And it's really annoying to fix, and I haven't tried yet. I suppose that's something that I really need to be getting more practice on, because I'm getting more and more radios like this. And if you collect or work on vintage radios, it's really something you need to start, you know, practicing on, because it's basically going to take out every single one of these eventually. So it's not necessarily a very difficult fix. It's just very tedious. You have to open up those IF cans, not break any wires, not damage anything. These Zenith ones like this are held together with a nut, but many of them are held together with a rivet that you have to drill out. You have to very, very, very carefully break apart and remove that silver mica sheet layer thing. This is going to be our next video. And then put it back together, and then underneath it you're supposed to, if you don't know the value, some schematics actually show the value of the capacitors in them, many don't, and if they don't, you get basically an adjustable capacitor and temporarily solder it in place, and you adjust them until it peaks, and then you take them out, you measure them, and then you reinstall whatever value it was in a fixed mica capacitor. So it's a pain in the ass. And, you know, I've had a few radios that have it, or had it in the past. These, let's just get a total here. I don't know about this one yet. We haven't tried this one. I'm just going to assume it has it. There's another one somewhere, isn't there? Oh yeah, here's the other one. That one doesn't have a chassis currently in it. All of these have silver mica disease. Assuming this one does. This one could be the one singular one that doesn't, but is it really going to break a trend at this point? Sorry, let me zoom out. You can't see them all. There we go. We can actually take a short field trip here, because I have one more that has silver mica disease. Here we go. This one. This one's starting to develop it as well. It'll play for about an hour, and then it'll start popping and crackling and slowly fade out. Once it cools down, it's fine, but yeah. And that is how a couple of these act. Like this one on the top here, my X509R, which is the one from work, which I brought home 2 days ago because, well, it's got it too. It's slowly starting to pop and crackle. And I've had this thing for, 15 years now, and it's just now starting to break down, and it's just an age thing. I've heard some people say storage conditions, and yes, I do believe if you store them improperly, keep them in bad environments, it will exacerbate the issue. It will cause it to develop sooner than later. But ultimately, it's silver migration. It's not really caused by corrosion. It is something that just happens, and there's really not much you can do about it. But yeah, I've had it happen on other radios, here and there, normally General Electric or RCA, just saying. And those were all like cheap 60s common plastic radios like those. Not these don't have it. Those are just an example of, what I'm talking about. And they were all in like really rough shape. It's one of those things, I paid $5 at the flea market. If I can make it play with the filter cap, great. If not, well, I spent $5 on a set of All-American 5 tubes. You can't buy them for that, so, either way. But these, I really like this particular model of Zenith Radio. If you couldn't tell, I quite like these. They're some of my favorites. I do enjoy them, and so I'm not going to just throw these out and pull the tubes out of them. So I suppose I need to start looking into doing that. Ugh. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. We will do that one. Hello everybody. Today we have a Zenith model R509R. Now this one cost $19.95. I don't believe I paid that for it. I don't know what that means. It's written on there with pencil. Now this radio is very similar to my R509R, my R509R, my X509R, and my X509V. Keen-eyed among you may notice there's no chassis in this one. I just explained that in the last video, literally 5 minutes ago, about this radio, why there's no chassis in there. So, go look at that video if you're wondering. Anyway, haven't tried this one yet. Wonder what this one's gonna do. It's a huge mystery. I bet nobody can guess. I have my my theories. Do we have vacuum bulb illumination? Yeah, we do. Oh, wow! Who would have ever guessed that this might be the case? We have a bad filter capacitor. I am shocked. I mean, I am shocked. Seems to be working, though. I wonder if YouTube's copyright can pick up on this. So we have a bad filter capacitor. Take your guess if we have silver mica disease or not. All 4 of the other ones have it. So maybe this one will be the odd one out. Who knows? This one doesn't have any weird modifications that I can see immediately. The knob, the tuning knob is loose, so we're going to have to figure out what's going on there. Loose as in there's a lot of play when I'm turning it. So, what do you think? Is it going to be completely virgin like the other ones? Is it going to have a bunch of capacitors changed? Is it going to have something that has been on fire? It's a Zenith. Nobody's done anything, and it still works. Big question is how many tubes have been changed in it. That'll give us an idea of how many hours are on it. This one has the correct speaker, so that's cool. Looks like it's been sitting somewhere where this speaker has gotten a bit of sun. Alright, let's see. We've got a Zenith tube there. A Zenith tube there. This is our 50C5. So that's a sign that this doesn't have a ton of hours on it. We do have a replacement here. This is our 35W4. This is a Westinghouse tube. And interestingly, it seems like it's kind of browned. The getter is kind of browned. Normally they're black. They start turning brown when you see a bunch of hours on them. So I wonder if this tube was used or something when it was put in, because the other tubes, which are Zenith tubes, are not doing that. Generally, I mean, I guess the fact that it's a Zenith tube doesn't mean it's original, but normally people don't spring for the Zenith tubes. Let's see here. This is our 12BA6. That's also a Zenith tube. These tube sockets are nice and tight, unlike the other three. So hopefully they'll make good connections. Our 12B E6 is a Philco tube, so it's had 2 replacement tubes. Are you ready? As always, completely original. Not surprised. This capacitor looks okay. That one's pushing its plug out, and this one's pushing the plugs out. I don't know if you can see that. They're starting to push the ends out, so those 2 will need to be replaced. Of course, since there's only 3, we'll replace that one as well. And this filter capacitor is what's bad here. And interestingly, this one looks like it might have been hot in the past. So, I suppose let's go ahead and remove that, since we already know what's going on here. We've done this 3 times. We don't need to get too in-depth. I'm going to try to restuff this one like I did in the other video. Once again, I'm generally anti-restuffing, but it's just the more practical way to install it in here. If you watched the last video, you would know I cut these wires too short. When I tried to empty out the other capacitor, it got ruined. Luckily, I had an extra one. This one's got like a hard... maybe that is just wax, I don't know. It's unfortunate that this cardboard tube is deformed somewhat. It's been hot, but we'll still try to melt it apart. And we need a paper towel. And I know this looks gross, but that's black hot glue, and that's wax from the other failed attempt at the capacitor. If I didn't mention it, we did restuff the other one, if you didn't see that video. This is a lot less in depth, so go watch that one. We did restuff it. I just ended up using a capacitor out of another radio. So, I'm going to do the same thing. Just heat the shit out of this. Being careful and trying to not melt, or not melt, but rather burn the cardboard tube. We're looking to heat up and melt the wax that holds this together. We are not looking to burn the cardboard. Let me go ahead and try to pull that out now. And it doesn't seem like it's quite heated enough. Oh, great. The insulation is pulling off of the wires. That's not what I want. Oh, great. The wires have pulled apart. That's not what I want either. I heard someone say you can kind of just push this center out. That's not looking to be the case. The first one, I kind of just dug this out, and the rest of it ended up coming along with it once I got this big plug out of here. The first one, as in the one I didn't get on camera when I was gutting it, of course. I need to quit getting my cutters all in this stuff. This is not doing it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, right, it's kind of just pushing out from this end. I can find something to push on it with. Here we go. There we go, look at that. Of course, this plug will have to be reinserted. Get some of this wax off of here. There we go. Let's put our end cap back in, which is, yeah, as I expected. Easier said than done. Well, it's not that hard. There we go. There is our shell. Like I said, it's a little deformed, unfortunately, but not bad. Here's the guts out of that. Garbage. And now we will take our two new capacitors. Now this is, as it says, a 60 and a 20 microfarad. And we'll need 3 wires. We will need a black, a red, and a green. 60 is on black, or sorry, 60 is on red, common is black, and our green is our 20. And just like before, we're going to be using the wires off of a PC power supply, which is a good place to source wires. Now for our 60, the closest thing I have is a 68, so we are going to be using a 68. For our 20, the closest I have is a 33, so we're going to be going with a 33. These are both 200 volt capacitors. The original capacitors were 150. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of cardboard and we are going to put this up against it, and we're going to cut this piece of cardboard so that it pretty much is a bit smaller. It doesn't have to be perfect, because it's not going to need to fit in there good. This is good enough, just as long as it's something that's almost the same size. It'll have a bit of resistance, that's fine. Now we're going to poke, and I've dropped it instantly. We're going to poke 3 holes in that. We're going to take our capacitors and put each lead through a hole, with the negative lead for the capacitors going through the same hole. Well, this seem to fit together better in the other one. The two capacitors fit side by side in the can perfectly. Is this can smaller? Okay, I think this capacitor unfortunately is smaller. That might cause a bit of a problem here if I can't fit these both in there. Okay, I can just barely fit both of these in there, but it's kind of deforming the thing even further. So I think what I'm going to do, maybe stagger them. Now, I don't like that as much. The way I did it on the other one was just took the piece of cardboard, poked the capacitor's legs through the cardboard, soldered them onto wires, and backfilled it with glue. Now that is what I would like to do here. But that is not cooperating. Let me try to cut another piece of cardboard here, maybe. So this is what I say, restuffing capacitors is a pain in the ass, and I just couldn't imagine doing this for every single capacitor in something. Like you're doing this on a radio, right, that has, you know, say 10 or 15 caps. You're doing this 10 or 15 times. Alright, so hopefully this will work. I've got the capacitors like that. The 68 microfarad 200 volt and the 33 microfarad, and we're going to solder our wires to them. Of course, black goes around the middle, which is our common, and aka the negative side of both capacitors. So I'm just going to attach the wires first, then I'll solder them. The green is going to go on our 33, or what will eventually be our 20. Well, I say eventually, but what will represent, is that the right word? The capacitor that's going in place of the 20 is a 33 microfarad capacitor. We will be putting the green wire on the 33 microfarad capacitor, which will correspond to the 20 microfarad capacitor that it is replacing. How about that? That's close enough, right? Alright, we got one more. And we will go ahead and solder the wires onto those. Hold still, damn it. to trim these. Try to keep it so there's no sharp edges here. And then we're going to put some heat shrink tubing on those. And I will demonstrate what I demonstrated in the previous video with this heat shrink tubing, or I will try to. Here we go. Watch this. This is great heat shrink tubing. Watch this. Not flame retardant at all. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the heat shrink tubing down here. This will provide insulation onto these wires, or I should say onto these solder joints rather. And it's going to be a pain in the ass to get over the middle one, probably, just like before, because it's bigger. And yes, I could have used a larger piece of heat shrink tubing, but then the color wouldn't match, and I kind of like the black. So we'll just go with that. Third, golden red, as the whole thing slides off the table. Alright. Where's my heat gun? Shrink them down. Now, we will take our can. Like I said, this doesn't fit in here as well as it did in the other one. I think this capacitor is slightly smaller in diameter, despite looking exactly the same and being a Zenith original capacitor. So we'll shove this down in there, far enough to where at least the one bottoms out. And it is. I don't know how well you can see, but the one has bottomed out. Well, no, it has not. There we go. Now it's pressing up against the top in there. And our solder joints are way down in there. And this cardboard piece that I put in there is to provide sort of a plug to keep the glue that we're going to fill this with from, oh, the asbestos pad is kind of falling apart in this one. To keep the glue we're going to use from going all the way down in there and going around the whole capacitors, that will A, keep them from getting, well, glue all around them, which I suppose doesn't really matter, and B, and the main reason, is to keep us from wasting glue. We're going to take a hot glue gun, if I can get the damn hot glue gun, which has been preheating, and we are going to fill this with hot glue. Now we're going to start with regular hot glue, but then we will move on to black hot glue to do the finishing with. There's still a little bit of black hot glue in there, so I suppose we'll use that since I can't really pull it out. I'm just going to fill this entire thing up. Well, it's still coming out black, so I guess I'll put the black, use a black glue stick since we're almost to the top now. It's not like the black glue sticks are any more expensive, I just don't have as many of them. I want to kind of try to keep these wires in line so that they're not all over, like, you know, all out askew, I suppose would be the correct word. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What I learned from the other one is to overfill it a bit, because it will settle down and then leave a divot. See, it's starting to settle down and leaving a slight bit of a divot there. So let it settle for a few more seconds and then we will add a little more in there. Now we wait for it to cool, and we install it in the radio. As mentioned, I'm not a capacitor restuffer. I don't do this regularly. It's just, in this particular case, it seems like the, I don't know if I would say easiest, but the simplest and most practical way of mounting the capacitors is mounting them how the original one was mounted. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, yeah, I think it looks nice. But I also think it's a ton of work to go through if you're doing every capacitor in a radio to heat it up, slide the paper out, you know, do all of this. It's a lot of work to go through to make it look like you didn't restore something, you know? I mean, if you do that, all more respect to you, but it's just a lot of work to go through to make it look like you didn't restore something. Because you have to realize, you know, this is a cheap little All-American 5 radio, but if you're dealing with like an old, you know, 40s, 30s, 40s, you know, wooden radio, multi-band, you know, nice power transformer set, a lot of those have like, you know, they can have like 30, 40 capacitors in them. Doing this to each one of those, that just seems crazy, man. Anyway, we'll let that solidify, and we'll be back. Okay, so I fixed the camera. I don't know what happened. Anyway, for starters, we're done with the glue gun. Let's put that away. For starters, as I just showed, I unfortunately got a phone call. I put the asbestos pad back in the top here, glued it down, and I put new foil over it. So I did use hot glue, so we will see how that holds up here. The capacitor is done. I believe I showed this. You can see where the cardboard tube is deformed from heat previously, but it turned out okay. So that's it. Red, of course, is the 60, like it originally said. Black is common, and green is our 20. So let's go ahead and get the chassis back in here. Install that filter capacitor. And I suppose we will replace these two. Well, might as well go ahead and replace all three of those as well, since two of them are starting to blow their ends out. And we'll replace those since there's only three of them. So I suppose we'll do that first since the filter capacitor's out of the way. I gotta find my, here they are, these guys. And let's clip this one out first. Get it clipped close enough, that would be, no, we'll just clip it there. And there, and you can see how the ends are starting to come out. So these are definitely in need of replacement. This is a 0.05. I'm going to replace that with a 0.047. And of course I just dropped a 0.047 into the section with the wrong capacitor there. Alright. And we're going to be using the hook and loop method, where we make a hook and loop around the old leads from the old capacitor instead of disturbing the solder joints on these, especially for stuff with early circuit boards, which of course this doesn't have. You're looking right at it, but especially for early circuit board stuff, this is the method you want to use. At least I think so. You don't want to go soldering onto those early circuit boards. Those things, if you've ever worked on those, tried to solder like a big can capacitor or something onto one of those, you know what I mean. The traces just lift up on those. But I find it, the least amount of stuff you can disturb, the better. So I find that the hook and loop method is just what's easiest. Now in some cases when something goes to, like, say, a volume pot or something, you know, in that case I'll solder it directly to there. And with the new filter capacitor, since they're wires, we're gonna remove the wires and just solder the new wires on. So there are cases where I don't use it, but for the most part I have found that is the way to go. Where did my pliers go? There they are. I might have cut that just a little short. That's okay. Just a tad bit short. So we're going to have to do more of a sit this one on here and throw a blob of solder on there. Unless I can, well, no, I can do that. And kind of, if I can get something small enough in there to sort of bend that. There we go. Look at that. Firmly, securely mounted. That's what you want. Generally, you don't want the solder to be what's holding it together. You want it to be put together and the solder is just there to make a better connection. Alright, that's good. For good measure, we'll do that ain't going nowhere. For good measure, always got to slap it a few times and say that ain't going nowhere. This is going directly to the chassis, so this is an example of a time where I am going to actually desolder this, simply because there's only one thing going here, although this might require me to heat up the iron some more. Yeah. Come on, man. Get off of there. We're melting the wax. Let's just cooperate here and get yourself off of there. It's desoldered. I mean, it's just being an ass at this point. There we go. Another 0.05. So we're going to hook and loop it onto this side where it goes to this IF can. I definitely don't want to disturb any IF cans if I don't have to. Although, as we've already mentioned, this thing I'm sure is going to have silver mica disease, unfortunately. Really starting to become a problem. I'm seeing more and more of it, even on things that have been stored fine, even on things that generally you wouldn't think would get it, like a Zenith, you know. Really? I did that too short. Okay. Yeah, I did that too short. Nobody said I was the brightest bulb in the pack. You know, the sharpest crayon in the shed. And I've got the iron turned way too hot because I was soldering to a chassis. So now we're kind of just overheating everything. So that's nice. Would like to get this. It's still too short. These new capacitors are not as long as the old ones. They're really designed to so this is an example of a time where I think we're going to have to do the lay it on there and throw a blob of solder over it because I made a miscalculation here. This capacitor, the lead is too short. Wow, this solder iron is way too hot. Let's turn that down. There we go. Not a fan of doing that, but in this case, it's just going to have to do. Let's cut this guy off, and this one's going to be a pain in the ass to get to, isn't it? Pull this wire through here while we're at it. This green wire for the filter capacitor. There we go. And then that is a 0.02. Use a 0.022. 022. And this one, of course, is longer than it needs to be. So I think once again, just because this is under these disc capacitors here, this is going to be another rare occasion, and it's going onto a tube socket, where I think we're going to go ahead and solder it directly onto there. Because in this case, that's going to cause less of an issue, I believe, than trying to do a hook and loop underneath the underneath all of that. If I can just get this piece out of here, that would be really handy. where'd the new capacitor go? Where'd I put it? There it is. Alright, so we're going to put that through there. Still going to hook and loop the other end, because like I said, I don't want to solder onto that IF can, or I'd rather not keep extended heat onto it, because I don't think that would cause any issues like exacerbating silver mica disease, but I really don't know. So if I don't, I'm just going to steer clear of the IF can. These pliers are too damn big. I need a smaller pair of needle nosies. There we go. I need a finer pair of needle nose pliers. I got this pair of fine side cutters, and these are very nice. Yeah, but I need to get a fine pair of needle nose as well. Okay, there you go. Now all the old radio purists should feel nice and warm and fuzzy inside because I replaced the wax paper capacitors. They love to complain about leaving those in place. Okay, let's move that ceramic disc out of the way because we're going to need to get to there. And let's place the new old filter capacitor in. The first one I'm going to do is the green, which is going to here. Where'd my solder sucker go? Here it is. Alright. So, we're going to run the green wire exactly the same as the old green wire was. We're going to run it underneath there. Pull it up and put it on that same terminal. So we'll cut her about there. Strip it. And we will at least try to put it through. Oh, lovely. There's still solder plugging up the terminal that it needs to go through. So I'm going to use a bit of this wick here to try to get that out of there, since the solder sucker apparently doesn't want to do it. Oh, criminy. Get on there. Absorb! Absorb, damn you. Having trouble getting that down in there. See, Seems like now it's not wanting to heat up enough, which is crazy, considering how hot this iron is still set to. I can promise you that this is just regular old leaded solder, so I don't know why it's not wanting to heat up. There we go. There's just not much room there, but let's see, I should be able to shove that through there now. If I can get it to go through there, that is. Maybe I should tin the wire so that it so that it'll actually stay sort of, you know, together instead of trying to come apart. I think that would help. Alright. Isn't this just thrilling to watch? Alright, the wire is going through. Where's my solder? There it is. The wire is going through. That should not have been that difficult. Now the black wire goes to the potentiometer, or rather the power switch, which is attached to, of course, the potentiometer. Just like the original, it's just going to wrap around there. That's what we did on the last one because the black wire is thicker than the Pleger, that's not even a word, the purple, the green, the other two wires, damn it. I cannot talk while I am doing something. It is just, I cannot do it. I'm sorry. Okay. Pleger. Is that even a word? Alright. Yes, I realize how horrendous that looks. This wire is just too damn big and stranded. Could you actually flow into there and not just pull on top of it, please? Thank you. Alright. Now the red one, that should be the easy one. We got 4 minutes to do it, apparently. I will let you guys decide. Will we get it in 4 minutes, or will I have to start a new clip? The odds are not appearing in my favor. Don't know why these things are being such a bitch to heat up. There we go. The solder sucker doesn't really do too much in there. See if I can. There we go. Beautiful. That's what I want to see right there. Exactly what you guys cannot see. Run that under there. And around that way. Alrighty, filter capacitor is installed. How'd I do? Ah, a minute and 23 seconds to spare. Look at that. Alright. Yes, I realize I just knocked the camera way out of view. Suppose I'll stop, start back, make sure it still works, and we'll see if it has silver mica disease, if it starts crackling and popping, or if it just works.